Hello, welcome back to the podcast. This is maybe my 10th attempt at recording this. I keep getting interrupted by either the computer making the loud noises again or somebody knocking on my door. It is 11 at night and people are still knocking on my door. For literally no reason. Okay, so if I don't sound as enthusiastic as usual, that is the reason. Okay, so this episode feels like the beginning of a new era. Actually, you know what? I am going to edit in something I recorded in my first attempt. You can hear the difference in my voice. Because, right now I sound really annoyed because I am. And when I play this clip that I recorded 3 hours ago, it was 9 o'clock. No, it was almost 9. Anyway, when I play this clip that I recorded, I can hear them coming. You can hear the difference in my voice. Oh, and there's the computer. Oh, this recording is not going to go very well, is it? Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. This episode feels like the beginning of a new era, even though this is my ninth. Wow, that did not take long to start. That picked right up as soon as I started recording. This episode is the first time I have recorded on the computer. I figured out how to get the cord to work. It wasn't working before. I don't know what I did different. Because I was plugging the cable into the computer, the pink and the greenish, teal, I think. It's like a mint color. I was plugging him into the right jacks. The mic wasn't recognizing it all. That was like a month ago. And I was like, I guess I'm just screwed. So I was like, I guess I'm just going to record on my phone. And so I think I mentioned in the last episode that I had bought it's called Director Suite from Cyberlink, and it comes with Power Director, Photo Director, Audio Director, and Color Director. And with the first three, I can do this podcast at a higher level that I couldn't do before, because I can make the logos better on Photo Director. I can actually do more on Power Director than just slapping a logo and the audio file together on Power Director. And I've actually already made a logo for the YouTube channel. I'm planning on doing more than just slapping a logo and audio file together. Like, if I talk about something, just put a picture up of it or something. Just something more, make it more visually appealing than just, here's the logo for an hour. No guarantee that I'm going to do that. I probably won't do like a full production. Just like something simple, like if I'm talking about something, I'm like, oh, it's this picture I saw and it looked like this and or whatever, and I'll just slap a picture so I don't have to worry about it. Like, if you're watching the video, I'm showing the picture. Just go to this time and the thing. And with Audio Director, I don't know what I did differently. I just literally plugged it in the exact same way, but now my computer recognizes my mic, and I tested recording in different apps, and it works fine. But in Audio Director, I don't have to open the file to edit it. I'm actually recording this directly into Audio Director. So this video isn't. I mean, wow. This video and this episode isn't sponsored by Cyberlink. But from now on, this show is being brought to you by Cyberlink. It's not sponsored. just, literally being brought to you by CyberLake, because everything I'm using to put the show together is through CyberLake. So yeah. So now I can actually do some editing. I don't know how I actually haven't really played around with Audio Director. I know, I used to use Goldwave, which is free, and I could do some really cool stuff. But that was 10 years ago. I would have to relearn. I taught myself. But now, with this is a more advanced. This is actually an actual paid-for program. It looks more advanced. I see a ton of new features. I could probably do. I would remix music and stuff, mashups and stuff, stuff like that and stuff. Stuff. Yeah, that was 6 days ago. I've been having a lot of issues with trying to record the episode. Every time I try, my computer starts making the noise again, and it's getting really frustrating. I even did a thread on Twitter saying, "Hey, show's on hiatus because I can't do this right now." I had someone suggest, actually had several people, but somebody responded to that tweet saying, "Why don't you do it on your phone?" I was like, yeah, I've been doing it on my phone. I want to not do it on my phone. And if I have my computer on now for an extended period of time, even if I had my computer on right now, it'd be making the noise. Maybe. Because it stops for 5 minutes and then it starts right back up for 10. And it's really frustrating and distracting, and I can't really do much. So it's getting worse. I'm trying to get it fixed. I don't know. So someone suggested, why don't I just do it on my phone with my computer off? I can't really do that because I have to have the thing in front of me because I don't have a script, but I was going to read, base the episode on articles and stuff like that. And I have to have the computer on to do that. And if I look on my phone, the recording will stop. So that was becoming an issue. And then tonight, I remembered something really important. I can't believe I didn't remember before. My Xbox has a built-in browser. So, a couple episodes ago, I pointed out that every episode is different in the fact that I have to do something different. No two episodes are made the same way. And there's always something that makes it a new challenge or something to make it stand out from the others. If they all stand out, then none of them stand out, but you know what I mean. So for this time, that thing is that I'm going to be using my Xbox, the built-in Microsoft Edge browser on my Xbox, to read the article. This is what I'm going to. If I can just get my computer to stop making the noise, it'd be perfect, because I love the sound. I love the sound quality of having it plugged directly into the computer. And because I'm still going to have to transfer this to the computer. And I guarantee you, when I edit this together with the opening I have for this already, because I'm leaving that in. I'm leaving so you can hear that snippet of how clear it sounds as opposed to my phone. Oh, and if I don't sound robotic, it's because this time I didn't use the Dolby app. I like the Dolby app. I don't really like the robot sound, but it sounds better than this. I'm using the old default built-in voice recorder app. The problem with the Dolby app is every time I do it, I have to export it from the app, which takes 5 minutes. it takes forever, and sometimes it'll fail like right near the end. And if my screen turns off, it fails. If I do anything on my phone, it fails. And then I have to transfer it to the computer. With this, it's just an audio file, and this is basically just to get the episode done, because I really want to do the episode. I already have like 3 ideas that are on the back burner, waiting for this computer issue to be resolved, and I don't know when I'll be able to do that. So it's not going to be as quality as I was wanting it to be, but at least I'm getting the episode out. Anyway, I will be taking this information from, I was originally going to do there was 2 articles I was going to take it from, but since I'm doing it on the Xbox and it takes forever to do anything on here, I'm just going to read from the one article. I'm not going to read it verbatim. Like I said, I don't want to just become the Wikipedia podcast. It's just taken from a Board Panda article called "These 36 Historical Facts Will Mess with Your Perception of Time." Written 2 years ago. There's no actual time given. Written by, I can't pronounce that, Sarun Bar? I don't know. I kind of skimmed through it, like the first few. I'm like, this is interesting. Some of these, from what I've seen, I'd already heard of. But at 36 of them, I don't think all of them will have been cliche. Like the first one here, number 1, it says, John Tyler, America's 10th president, was born in 1790 and has 2 living grandchildren. So, I first heard of this years ago. I didn't look into it. I just thought, of course, that sounds ridiculous. That sounds ridiculous. There's no way that's going to be possible. But here's how it's possible. John Tyler was 63 when his son Lion was born in 1853. I should probably sleep instead of making this, but I want to get it done with. So, John Tyler was 63 when his son Lion was born in 1853. Lion was 71 when Lion Jr. was born in 1974, and 75 when Harrison was born in 1928. Both sons are still alive. That would mean that they're both in their 90s. I don't know if they have kids. If they do, then that just carries it on. Hopefully they wait till now to have kids to really stretch this out. Like in 100 years, it's like he was born 300 years ago, and he has his great grandchildren are still alive. Let's see, Marilyn Monroe. Let's see. Marilyn Monroe and Queen Elizabeth were born in the same year. They were both 30 when they met at a movie premiere in London in October 1956. So Marilyn Monroe and Queen Elizabeth, the current queen, they were born the same year. And they met at a movie premiere in 1956, and they were both 30, which I have heard of this. There was a third one, I think it was three people, I don't remember who it was. They were born the same year, and it was Anne Frank, and I think like Rosa Parks, and then like someone else. I don't remember who else it was. 3 people. One of them was Anne Frank, who was born in 1929. Were born the same year. Martin Luther King, I think the second one was, and then I don't remember who the third one was. But all 3 were born in 1929, and one died young, Anne Frank. The other one died, I don't remember. I think Martin Luther King died. He was like 30 or something. I don't remember how old he was. And if he was born in 29, he died in 68. He would probably be 40-ish, almost 40. And then the other one's still alive, and they're like in their 90s. So that really puts a perspective on time, because you think Anne Frank, oh, she's a little girl, and she's born the same year as this elderly person who's still alive now. And Martin Luther King, like, imagine if Anne Frank and Martin Luther King were still alive. That would be really cool. I've always thought of that. Like, what if Anne Frank was still alive? Like, I mean, obviously she's not. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. She's still alive. But it's like, imagine she had survived the Holocaust and she was still alive. And, well, I already know. I read her diary like 10 times. She had, the diary that we have a copy of is not the diary that she would have published. Because she was writing because she heard a BBC broadcast about... Okay, my screen had turned off. I was like, oh no, it stopped. I've been talking all this time. So, Anne Frank she had heard a BBC broadcast while in hiding, saying that after the war they want to collect diaries of people just for like the historical purposes. So she kept her main diary, which was more personal, had more personal information in it, and then she rewrote she had like a second diary that she rewrote, and it was like from like a historical perspective. And the version we have is the combination of the two. So if she had lived, we wouldn't have gotten the full thing. I don't think we would have ever seen the full personal side. It would have been from a historical perspective, like she had wanted. And of course, she would have gone on to... I think if Anne Frank had lived, that would have just been like a small thing. Like, it's like, oh, she also published a diary, but here's a list of all her other works that she wrote. Because she wanted to be a writer. And that would have been really interesting. But I'm talking about historical coincidences, not alternative history. But I do want to know... Wait, Harriet the Tortoise, who died in 2006, had seen Charles Darwin in person. I did hear that. That was... Oh... In the picture, he's with Steve Irwin. Woolly mammoths were still alive while Egyptians were building the pyramids. Okay, I know this is going to sound weird. I know mammoths have been dead and been extinct for thousands of years. But they don't feel like it, because there was like that mammoth that they found frozen. And I think they like reanimated it or something. I don't know if that was a real thing. I read somewhere years ago and like multiple things that they like brought it back to life and it died shortly after, and they were like took some DNA and they cloned it or something. I don't know. It doesn't feel like mammoths are gone because stuff like that. I don't know. Oxford. Okay, this is the one I said. This is the example I give when I try telling people I'm going to do this episode. This helps them know what I'm trying to say. Oxford University existed for hundreds of years before the Aztec Empire was founded. Says the Aztec Empire began as an alliance of three city-states. Can't pronounce that. These three city-states ruled the area in and around the Valley of Mexico from 1428 until the combined forces of the Spanish conquistadors and their native allies under the Hernan Cortes defeated them in 1521. Wait, so the Aztec Empire lasted just under 100 years? Wow. Yeah, the Aztec Empire had rich and complex mythological and religious traditions, as well as achieving remarkable architectural and artistic accomplishments. Wow. When I think of the Aztecs, I think they, like, this ancient civilization that lasted for hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. They lasted from 1428 until 1521. They lasted just under 100 years, and they have such a rich history in that time. Meanwhile, in England, Oxford University was already well established. It had no known date of foundation, but there was evidence of teaching as far back as 1096, making it the oldest university in the English-speaking world and the world's second oldest university in continuous operation. Well, what's the first? Let's see. George Washington died in 1799. The first dinosaur fossil was discovered in 1824. George Washington never knew dinosaurs existed. That's actually kind of depressing, actually. Oh yeah. Okay. Not a lot of people knew this. Okay, I'm just going to read the thing. Nintendo was founded when Jack the Ripper was still on the loose, 1889. A few years ago, I did a post. It was like the anniversary of the founding. And I don't remember what date it was or what year it was. I said, happy 100th and something birthday, Nintendo. And everyone commented like, oh, you're just trying to be funny. You're just stupid. Nintendo is video games. The video games didn't exist back then. Nintendo has existed long before video games. They started out as like a card company, I think. Wait, it actually might say they originally made playing cards, and they founded way back in 1889. Yeah, so what I read studied the history of Nintendo at one point. I actually have an article on I might do a separate episode about this, actually. They started out as a playing card company, and then they I think like the CEO came to America one day, and like the number one playing card company in America was basically being ran out of a closet, and so when he went back to Japan, he's like, hey, we need to do something else. Maybe this isn't the right avenue for us, and they were trying different things. I think at one point they even had a hotel. They were trying like different toys and stuff, and then the video game came along, and they're like, might as well. And the rest is history. Wow. Okay, so remember when I said that I saw the first few? I saw the first two or three. And yeah, if I had gone down a little further, I would have seen the thing I was talking about. Number 8. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King Jr. were born the same year, 1929. I'm pretty sure there was a third person, and that person was still alive. I don't remember. I don't know. Today's oldest living tree, it was already 1,000 years old when the last woolly mammoth died. See, oh, this is a common one. Number 10. Star Wars came out the same year as the last guillotine execution in France, 1977. I've heard that one like 100 times, so that's a common one. Most of these aren't, though. By the time the Pilgrims made it to the Plymouth Rock, there was a Palace of the Governors in New Mexico. People often assume that the first Europeans to settle in the United States came with the landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock. That was in 1620. However, Spanish explorers had been in the Southwest for almost a century by that time. I knew the Pilgrims weren't the first. Like, they were just, like, the most famous. But I knew, like, there was more. I didn't know there was already, like, an established palace in Mexico by the Spanish explorers. So I don't know much about the early era. Swiss women got the right to vote, the same year the U.S. drove a buggy on the moon in 1971. Switzerland is often seen as one of, or if not, the most progressive nations on Earth. It comes as a surprise that women weren't granted the right to vote until 1971, 65 years after Finland became the first European country to do so. Wow, this one's surprising. Number 13. The fax machine was invented the same year as the first wagon crossed the Oregon Trail, 1843. The original fax machine, or the electric printing telegraph, was patented in 1843 by Scottish inventor Alexander Bain, the same year that about 1,000 people set off west for Oregon. I think of the fax machine as like a modern thing, as I'm sure most people do. I'm sure it didn't take the same form we're used to. You could take the London Underground to the last public hanging in the UK, 1868. That one doesn't sound so surprising. Oh, this one I did know. It's kind of depressing, because they were like associated with each other. Princess Diana and Mother Teresa died days apart in 1997. That one was kind of depressing. I didn't know at the time because I was like 9. Yeah, I was 9. So I didn't know. I remember the night Princess Diana died. I couldn't sleep, so I went to turn on the TV, and then the news report was like, Princess Diana has died of her injuries. And I was like, wow, that sucks. Where's the cartoons? I didn't know who she was. Princess Diana and Mother Teresa died just days apart in 1997. Princess Diana was killed in a car crash in Paris on August 31st, while Mother Teresa died on September 5th after a historical... Hello. You probably noticed the computer sound in the background. So basically what happened was I stopped paying attention to my phone and I focused on finishing the episode, and I was like reading the article. I finished the episode and I was talking, and I did some like small talk and made some announcements and stuff, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna end the episode right now, and I turned and I looked at the phone, and it had stopped recording after 20 minutes. So it was well over an hour that I was talking. So yeah, I was too frustrated to deal with it, so I just turned it off, and I was like, I'm gonna sleep. I'll deal with it tomorrow. And now it's 24 hours later. Oh, not happy with this episode. I will be honest, this is the hardest episode I've ever done, and not because it's like emotionally hard. It's just I've now recorded in 3 different ways, and wait, no, 2, because as you can hear the computer. I have my mic plugged back into the computer, so that's one way, and I did it on my phone, which was another way. So that's 2 ways. But still, I've had to do, now it's 4 different sessions, because there's the original where I sound all happy, like, hi, welcome back to the show. And then there's the really upset one that I put in the opening, and then there's last night, and now there's now. So I literally started making this episode a week ago. Usually I just, record in one sitting and then I post it. And this is not, I don't like this at all. I do not like this. Finally I'm sitting here, I was like, I really want to do the episode because I want to move on. I'm interested in this topic, but it was last week. Like, I was obsessed with it last week. I've moved on. I don't want to talk about this anymore. that's how these episodes work. Where like I'll have an idea for an episode, And I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this, and I'll talk about Ubisoft for an hour, and then like, yeah, like I don't drag it out a week. I've said what I wanted to say about Ubisoft, and then I I mean, I could still go on about Ubisoft. Like, I do individual episodes about each game, but I'm not going to do that. Point is, this wasn't something that I don't know. I wasn't expecting to talk about it this long. And technically, I've already talked about it because I did the whole episode. So, since I'm not just using my Xbox this time, I'm not gonna do just the one episode, just the one link, because I've already read that article. I don't want to do it again. But I still have both articles open because I don't close them out and it just like remembered all my tabs I had open. So both articles are still right here. I scrolled down to where I left off, the Diana one, and I scrolled down 2 because I didn't want to read the next one. It wasn't interesting to me. So I have this article open, and then the other article I was going to read, I have them both open. But since I already have the old article open, the Princess Diana one, I'm going to read one from here. It's number 17. Prisoners arrived at Auschwitz just days after McDonald's was founded. So, you know, not exactly something I'm sure they advertise. Now, this is one I remember when I read this. When I finished, I was like, "This is the reason. This sort of stuff is the reason I like this. I wanted to do this." And so, the last known widow of a Civil War vet, Maudie Hopkins, seen here at her Lexa, Arkansas home in 2004 at 89 years old, died in 2008. That's the same year Barack Obama won his first presidential election. And so basically, as it has a little paragraph, but I read the last one. When she died in 2008, she was 98 and 93, which meant that a Civil War veteran's widow was still alive, and Barack Obama became the first African American president. So, how does that make sense? Okay, I read that. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. If she was 80, if she was 93 at the time, that doesn't even make sense. Well, she didn't marry him until 1934. And she was 19, he was 86. So, that's how that makes sense. And now go to the other article. It was, the first article is Board Panda. That's the one I've been reading from this whole episode. And the second article is from Chron, I think it's called. It was posted by Andrea Waguspak. I'm just going to say Andrea. Okay, so this one I haven't gone through. It's, the way I was going to do this episode was I have these two articles. I'm going to go down blindly looking through them. Well, now I've read the first article. I'm going in blind to the Chron one. So, alright, number 1, which I've already seen number 1 because it's the first page. I wanted to look at it to see what kind of information this was going to give. I didn't even click onto the second one, so it's a slideshow presentation thing. One of those, because they have to have, it's 34 slides, which means 34 pages of ads to get them that ad revenue. I hate when they do this, but that's how we have to do it. There's not an option. Some of them have an option to do a full page version, and this one doesn't do that. So this is how we're doing it. Where is the... Okay. The Magna Carta was signed in 1215, the same year Beijing was captured and burned by the Mongols under the direction of Genghis Khan. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that I didn't know what I've heard of the Magna Carta, but I didn't know what it was. It says here that it was forced onto the King of England to limit his power in the 1200s. So, I don't think he was very happy. Wait, who was the king at the time? And does it say? It does not. Anyway, going to the second slide. The filing cabinet was invented in 1898, the same year that a deli meat slice, the same year as the deli meat slicer. But people would have to wait another 30 years for the modern-day sandwich. Pre-sliced bread wasn't invented until 1928. Oh, I remember that because they were saying that Betty White was born before sliced bread, so Betty White is older than sliced bread. Which I think is hilarious. The Port of Houston opened for business in 1914. The same year, Woodrow Wilson declared Mother's Day a national holiday. Okay, that's not big. The Mother's Day part is, but the Port of Houston, it's like something happened the same day this became a thing. It would be different if it was like Mother Teresa was born the same day that this became a national holiday. It's like, oh wow. But it's the Port of Houston opened for business the same day, which is not... It's interesting, but it's not like, oh my god, interesting. Nintendo was... Oh, see, I mentioned this in the other one. Nintendo was founded in 1889. Yes, you read that right. In Japan. The company originally made playing cards for the popular game called... yes. Hanafadra. Why is there a D in that? I don't think they usually have D's because they have R. I don't know. I studied Japanese back 10 years ago, and usually, like, I don't know. Maybe that's the English version. I don't know. I'm just recording. This happened only a year after Jack the Ripper Jack the Ripper was wreaking havoc in London. Oh, and the Washington Monument was completed the same year. So, that's 3. Alright, let's see. Sushi was invented around the same time that the beloved sandwich, during the 1700s and early 1800s. What? Sushi was invented around the same time as the beloved sandwich. Which sandwich? And it shows pictures. The picture is of sushi. But what sandwich was invented? Wait, just a sandwich? It was... Okay, I don't know. There was a lot of food invented around then. Brooklyn Bridge, and New York pictured, was completed in 1883, the same year as the world's first rodeo in Pecos, Texas. It's worth noting that the Brooklyn Bridge is actually older than London's Tower Bridge by 11 years. Okay, that last part was actually interesting. Again, like some of these, I think they're stretching for this. I'm only on the 6th one out of 34, and most of them have been like, hey look, 2 things happen at the same time. What are the odds? That's not as interesting as like the Oxford and the Aztec thing, or the Genghis Khan and the Magna Carta. Those are interesting. This is just 2 things happen to happen at the same time, and you're just pointing them out. So I might not finish this article. First wave of Auschwitz prisoners began... Oh, this is the McDonald's one again. Next one. The Colosseum in Rome, Italy was unveiled in 80 AD. Around the same time the Gospel of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles in the Bible were written. That's kind of cool. Also, fun fact. Pompeii was destroyed by the volcano in 70 AD. So, yeah, that's a little fun fact. A little additional one that I knew. Anyway, William Shakespeare was alive while America was still being colonized. Okay. Well, that... This article's stretching. The fax machine was patented... That's another... I've already read that on the other article. Okay, so this one is kind of... This is a whole time doesn't exist thing. When you think Pablo Picasso, you probably... I know he was alive in, like, the 70s, but, like, he's mostly known, like... he painted his stuff long ago, and I think Pablo Picasso, I think long time ago, like Van Gogh or something. Anyway, artist Pablo Picasso. I'm not good at spoken. Artist Pablo Picasso died in 1973. The same year, the Watergate scandal went to trial and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon was released. So, that is really interesting. It's not just this random thing. The hot dog was invented this same year. Is this major event? Like, that's... Stop it. This is 3 major events all happening the same year. That is really interesting. I love that. I wish this article had more of those. The last person to be executed by firing squad in the United States happened the same day Toy Story 3 was released, June 18th, 2010. Wait, they were still doing firing squad 10 years ago? It's kind of like the guillotine thing. Like the last person executed by guillotine in France was this. Like, I think it was the same day that Star Wars was released, or at least the same year. Like, it doesn't sound right. It's like when you think of the guillotine, it's like, oh, that was the French Revolution. But this is like 10 years ago. They were still doing the firing squad. I don't know if it was like a one-off thing, like the person was like, don't do the lethal injection, do me by firing squad, and they were like, okay. I don't know, this is literally what it says. That is kind of fascinating. Queen Elizabeth II left, and Marilyn Monroe, where I already said that in the other one. So they were both, Queen Elizabeth, our current queen. I say our current queen. I'm not British, but you know what I mean. And Marilyn Monroe were born the same year. And here it's a picture of them meeting and shaking hands. Harvard University didn't offer calculus classes for the first few years the school was established, because calculus hadn't been invented yet. Oh. I was like, wait, why? Harvard is older than calculus. Titanic sank the same year the patents were filed for MDMA, aka ecstasy. The term vitamin was coined, and Oreos were invented in the United States. So Titanic... Wait, how old are Oreos? I figured that was like a 1960s invention, or 70s. 80s at the latest. I wasn't thinking... Or like 60s at the earliest. I didn't think they were invented in 1912. That is insane. So they were eating Oreos during World War I. That's crazy. Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker premiered in St. Petersburg, Russia in 1892. The same year, Ellis Island in New York began taking in immigrants. When I think of like Ellis Island and immigrants, I'm thinking like 1920s. I don't know if that's when they were doing that, but there's like these pictures of like this ship filled to the brim with Irish immigrants, and I was thinking like, oh, the 1920s, and yeah, like apparently it was happening in 1892. Spanish realist artist Salvador Dali died in 1989. See, that's another artist I imagined long ago. I didn't know he lived until almost 1990. Same year, Daniel Radcliffe, actress Hayden Panettiere, and Houston rapper Kirko Bangs were born. So one of those three are probably the reincarnation of Salvador Dali. I like Hayden Panettiere. Okay, they're making the new Scream, Scream 5. They're just calling it Scream, and I really hope Hayden Panettiere reprises a role. She's not in the cast sheet. Maybe she's like a surprise cameo or something. Like, oh, like survived because like she was the best character in Scream 4, and she just got stabbed in the stomach a couple of times, and she was still alive the last time the camera was on her. So in my headcanon, she's still alive, and if she's not in Scream 5, that doesn't change anything. She's just She moved away. She didn't want any part of, because it's been 10 years. When she graduated high school, she moved away. Didn't want any part of it. The traumatic experiences. She's still alive, safe and sound. So, and if she's in the movie and they kill her off, I'm going to be really mad. Oh wow, yeah, a lot of things happened back then, but this is kind of interesting. Prince William and Kate Middleton were married on April 29th, 2011, just a few days before Osama bin Laden was killed. It doesn't feel like they were that close though, because I remember like I can't spoke. The royal wedding was this big thing all over the internet. And then I remember when I watched live that video of Obama walking up the hallway and then making the announcement if they had killed bin Laden. It doesn't feel like those were together, but at the same time, a lot was going on back then. And it was almost 10 years ago, so maybe it was a few days apart. I mean, this says it is. I believe this site I've never seen before. Princess Diana. Oh, yeah, this is where I ended things on the other one. Not intentionally, that's where the recording stopped. Mark Twain, aka Samuel Clemens, was still alive the last time the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. I don't care about sports. So it's like, cool, I don't know and I don't care. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated on April 15th, 1865. Just a few months before the Secret Service was created. In fact, the legislation to create the Secret Service was on Lincoln's desk on the night he died. Oh, wow. Okay, so I figure the Secret Service was created in reaction to that. Because a president had never been assassinated before. I think somebody tried to assassinate Andrew Jackson and he, like, knocked him out with his cane. Like, that's the only thing I could think of that happening, that being an issue. So, like, it's kind of depressing. Like, the thing that could have saved him was on his desk. But, yeah. Wow. You learn something new every day. Speaking of Mississippi, what? Nope. It goes straight from the Lincoln thing to this. Speaking of Mississippi, when was Mississippi talked about? The state symbolically abolished slavery in 1995, 130 years after the rest of the nation. This was the same year Tejano star Selena was shot and killed by, I don't want to say her name, the president of her fan club. So, Mississippi still hadn't technically abolished slavery in their state until 1995. That is really sad. I have a lot of friends that live there, and they'll post, like, racism is a huge thing there, obviously, and they post about it a lot. So, in a way, I'm not surprised, and if I were to tell them, like, hey, this happened, they'd be like, oh, yeah, not surprised. Speaking of Selena, that new Netflix show, I've been meaning to watch it, but, like, I saw, it said part 1 is season 1, and I looked at the episode descriptions, and it's, like, the last episode. I want the full story, so I'll probably wait till, I don't know how many parts they're doing. I'm assuming part 2 is the other half, or maybe they go to, like, stretch this out as long. I want to wait till they have it all posted, and then watch it all, because I'm kind of on the fence about it, because the movie with J-Lo, that was perfect. I can't imagine, in fact, that's always on my list of movies to never remake. It's like, don't remake that one, don't remake Back to the Future, don't remake Malcolm X. Those are all perfect the way they are, don't you dare touch them. And so when I heard they were doing a TV series, they're doing a Netflix series, and I'm like, no, why are you doing this? But I've heard some good things about it. It has a low critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. I looked, it was like 53, which is not great. But the actual people, like on Twitter, are like, this show's amazing. So, I don't know. I'm just gonna wait until it's all posted. Because I don't want I'm gonna watch half a story, which I know I did that with like Harry Potter and stuff, where I watched Deathly Hallows Part 1, but I don't know, that was different. It's different, leave me alone! Basketball was invented in 1891, a few years after Sherlock Holmes, written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, pictured above, was first published. See, this is them stretching. If it was like it was invented the same day as this book was released, that would be one thing. Basketball was invented a few years after Sherlock Holmes was first published. Don't do that. It's not what I'm looking for. Yellowstone National Park was created in 1872, just 1 year after the German states unified into modern-day Germany. I'm not. I thought. I'll admit I'm not an expert on Germany, but I assumed that after, the Germany of today is different from pre-World War II Germany. That's what I thought. Like, it's not the same Germany, it was different. I'm not an expert at Germany. I don't really know much. I know, pretty much the only thing I know about Germany is, World War II, which, again, it's not great. So, I'm just gonna move on. Charlie Chaplin above and Adolf Hitler were both born in 1889. Interestingly, Chaplin portrayed Hitler in the 1940 satire The Tramp and the Dictator. Technically, the movie is just called The Dictator, but I'll take it. That is funny. I did not know they were born the same year. That is very interesting, especially considering that people often confuse the two. I was looking through HBO Max with one of my neighbors, and the TCM. My favorite section of HBO Max is TCM because I love classic movies. I've seen a bunch of movies on there that I've never seen before, and there was the Charlie Chaplin section. And he's like, "Dude, is that Adolf Hitler?" I'm like, no, that's Charlie Chaplin. And of course, he didn't know who Charlie Chaplin was. And I'm like, "Did you grow up under a rock?" And he's like, why is he dressed up like Adolf Hitler? And I said, because this was long before World War II. That was actually a wow, coughing. Duh, what else would that have been called? But this was I forgot the name of the mustache, but it was a style. It was very popular back then. After the 1940s, it kind of went out of style for some reason. But I'm gonna move on. Also, by the way, watch The Great Dictator. It is hilarious. Oh, and the next one's also about Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin died in 1977, the same year Apple was incorporated. Okay, that is hard to think about. It's kind of like with the artist ones I've said, like, you don't think of them in the same time period. That's the reason I wanted to do this episode, is things like that you don't think would be in the same era happening. And Charlie Chaplin, I know he lived to an old age, but like when I think of Chaplin, I think of, the silent films and stuff, and then Apple is completely different. It's like modern, and I know it started in the 70s, he died in the 70s, so it shouldn't be that surprising, but like, the same year? I don't know. The next one, that's not all that happened in 1977. Last person, they should have put this all in one. Because, I remember, a few slides back, it had, 3 or 4 different events in one post. This has the Star Wars and the guillotine thing. It happened the same year. Chaplin died the same year the Star Wars came out. The last guillotine in France, Apple was incorporated. This all happened the same year. That is incredible. But those should have been one slide. IBM introduced the MS-DOS 1.0 computer in 1981. The same year, France decided the guillotine would no longer be the official method of execution. So they did the last guillotine in 77, and then a few years later they were like, maybe that's not. So they just not have executions during that time. I don't know. But yeah, like I've always heard the Star Wars guillotine connection, but I never heard this one, and this one's kind of funny too. Like not really funny because guillotine, but yeah, it's kind of funny to think that computer thing. Coca-Cola predates the Eiffel Tower in Paris by a couple years. The tower was inaugurated in 1889 for the World's Fair, which was the same year Van Gogh's Starry Night was painted. Why wasn't that the slide? The tower was made the same year. Starry Night is my favorite painting. I have a guitar, and I have a Starry Night guitar strap, and then I bought I don't use guitar picks because I know like you're really not supposed to, because like you need to use your fingers, they'll get callous, and you can play better than if you used a pick. But I wanted picks because I just in case I got lazy. But I chose some as a Van Gogh collection, and they have Starry Night, and it has like the cafe and like some of the other ones, the self-portrait. But I've never used them. But I have them to be like, look at these awesome guitar picks. And then I had a Kindle a few years ago, and I had a Starry Night cover. And I was looking. They have a Starry Night face mask for like the whole COVID thing, and I'm still planning on getting it, but it was like $15, and I'm like, okay, I get it because it's Starry Night, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Yeah, I will get it eventually. Leo Tolstoy, who wrote The War and Peace and Anna Karenina, I never heard of that one, died in 1910, the same year as the first infrared photos were published. Wait, infrared was... I didn't know infrared photos were that old. So that was a strong... Is this an infrared photo of him? I don't know, moving on. Oh! Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, this is even more than I thought. Okay. So, when I was doing the recording, this is technically one I covered, but it expands on it. When I was talking about Anne Frank and Martin Luther King, I was like, there's a third one, they're still alive, and I don't remember. They were all born the same year. Barbara Walters. That's who it was. But it goes further than that. Wow, okay. This list has redeemed itself for this one slide alone, number 32. Anne Frank, Martin Luther King Jr., Barbara Walters, Audrey Hepburn, Jacqueline Kennedy, Yasser Arafat, Bob Newhart, Grace Kelly, and Dick Clark were all born in 1929. It's like, that is insane. Not just the fact that they're all born at the same thing with the same year, but like you think like Yasser Arafat, when he died, he was really old, and then like Bob Newhart, I'm pretty sure he died. Grace Kelly and Dick Clark, they all died. I think Grace Kelly died. I don't know. That's one of those times that like I just assume that someone is dead, and then they like, okay. Wait, I have a. Nope, not that. I'm gonna look real fast because I don't want to say, oh, he died, or she died, and then, okay, don't open Goodreads. I'm using my left hand to search, and I'm not that good at that. Let's see. Grace Kelly, there we go. Oh yeah, she died in 1982. Alright, let's do Bob Newhart. Nope, he's still alive. September 5th, 1929. Out of this list, I know Barbara Walters and, now Bob Newhart. Those are the only ones still alive. The rest have passed on. But what makes it crazy to me is, like, I think, like, Jackie Kennedy, and, like, in this, like, in the 60s, the famous pictures of her with JFK, if Anne Frank had been alive, she would have been that age. And you still think the picture they have is a picture of Anne Frank, and it's like, oh, she's a child in this picture. She's a teenager. I'm pretty sure she was 12 in this picture. And it's like, that's how I picture Anne Frank. And so, thinking that, if she was alive, she would be as old as Barbara Walters. It's like, that's, I know, you're probably listening going, well, duh. But it's like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me to think about. And apparently we have 2 more slides left. And that was actually, that should have been the ending, because that was a great slide. That was my favorite so far. Orville Wright, who is credited as building the first airplane with his brother Wilbur, died in 1948, just 1 year after Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier. And, well, actually that is kind of, I was going to say, okay, it's 2 random events, but then you look at the context. He built the airplane, and then someone broke the sound barrier for the first time, and then he died. That is kind of interesting. And then, last one, slide 34. Hawaii became a state in 1959, the same year as the first Daytona 500 race. Oh, come on. Why are you going to end it on such a weak one? Again, it's just 2 random events happening at the same time. It's not interesting. Alright, I just got notified that my Amazon package was delivered, even though yes, okay, there was 3 of them, so there should be 1 more popping up any second now. It was delivered this afternoon, and it wasn't me ordering it. I let a friend use my Amazon account because I have Prime, and she doesn't want to pay for Prime, which I understand. I let her use it for. She also watches the video thing. I let her. She actually shops in her more than I do. So, and she ordered 3 things, and that third one's not popping up. So, meh. I don't know. Okay, I reached the end of that article. I was gonna go back to the first article that I started, that cut off at Princess Diana. I was like, I already read it, and like when I said like a lot of the ones that I read just now on the slides, they were in the other article, but like I hadn't read them in the recording. So like if you go to look up the other article and be like, hey, wait, this isn't both. What are you talking about? Yeah, like I read it in the recording. So like, yeah. That's what I meant by I read them all. When I say I already read this one, I read it in the recording. But anyway, I had some announcements. I had like 3 or 4 in that I said. I don't even remember them all. Oh yeah, so somebody at my work tested positive for COVID. So I'm actually going to be off for the next several days. I had to do a COVID test today, which wasn't fun. They said that I should get the results in about 5 days, which that's kind of long. But hey, I can't go to work in that time, so I'm going to have plenty of time. I might crank it, because it's been a while, and I've had 2 new episode ideas that I wanted to do, but I started this one. I wanted to finish it. Usually I would have scrapped an episode if this, like, I don't know. Normally I would have scrapped an episode, but I don't know. I already put so much work in this one. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna finish it. Nope. So I want to get it out, and if over the next couple of days I might crank out 2 more, because I already know what one's gonna be, and I know the second one's like I have an idea for the third one, but I don't know how. It's like I have an idea for an idea. It's like a general concept, but I don't know how to mold it into an actual episode. So I'm gonna have to. My sister is usually my ideal person, or like I come up with the ideas and then like I take them to her and she molds them into something really cool. I usually like when I come up with logos and stuff. I like I'll make a logo and I'll send it to her and she'll like, okay, do this and make that and do the over here do that, and then I'll go and make the changes she says, and it's like, and then I look at my original and look at her version and I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, her version is awesome. My version looks like some kid doodled in MS Paint. So, yeah, my sister's awesome, and yeah, I might just tell her my idea for a concept, my concept for an idea. I don't know. One of those ways is right, and she might be able to lead me in the right direction. Like honestly, like if it wasn't for my sister, I don't know where I'd be creatively. Because like I have like all these ideas and I want to be creative, but then like, like she perfects it. So like, yeah, like I don't know. Without her, I'd probably just, well, I was gonna say, not. I'm not really thriving on here because I have a YouTube channel I've had for 12 years. I have a few Facebook pages. I have a blog. I have a blog ministry, and none of those really did anything. This podcast is actually the most quote unquote successful thing I've done, and simply because I actually have people listening, and I have 80 followers on Twitter. Last I looked, I think I've gotten a few more. I usually stuff like that I'm not really interested in. Like, oh cool, I got followers. I don't, like I said earlier in an earlier episode, I don't do this to get famous. I do it because it's fun. So like I'm not like I got more. Yeah, I have 81 followers. So like I don't really pay attention. Like I'll get notified that I got a new follower. I'm like, cool. I might follow them back. Sometimes. I'm following 271 people. I have 81 followers. I know that, that typically doesn't look good. If you're, they always say like if your following is higher than your followers, that's just sad. And I'm like, okay, I still do it. Like I just follow everyone. And but yeah. But this is, I actually have. Oh yeah, I was gonna shout out another podcast. Okay, so there's a podcast I listen to called Noteville, and I love that show. They have I listen to true crime and stuff. They cover like scary stuff, like paranormal, urban legends, and stuff like that. And they talk about like sleep paralysis. They did an episode on I can't pronounce her name. It's the Japanese girl, urban legend, which she has like the slit in her mouth, like the Joker. I actually made them an image. I'm pretty sure it was already. I'm sure it's been done before, but I wanted to make one. It's a picture of Heath Ledger Joker. He has. You want to know how I got these scars? And then below it, I had a picture of her. They talk about her and they talk about all sorts of stuff. Anyway, they on Twitter they do this segment on the show called Campfire Stories. And before I continue, I want to make sure that is what it's called, because I'm going from memory, and we all know my memory isn't the best. But I'm pretty sure it's Campfire Stories. Something went wrong. Refresh. Okay, Stitcher. Yep, Campfire Stories. And what they do is it's basically user submitted stories. Kind of like My Favorite Murder has the hometown murders, or the hometown stories, because it's not just murders now. It's kind of like that, like their own. It could be fiction or non-fiction, and they put out a tweet requesting more, and they said it could be fiction, non-fiction. It could be about something that happened to you. It could be sleep paralysis. It could be whatever. And if it's good, they'll read it. And so I submitted. There was a Facebook post I did in 2016. There was this. It started as sleep paralysis, and it transitioned into a nightmare because I fell back asleep, I guess. and like it felt so real. It was the Zodiac Killer. I was awake. I know I was awake, and then the Zodiac Killer was in the corner, in the executioner outfit, and when he was at Lake Berryessa, yes, I know way too much about Zodiac Killer, and so like he was just standing there watching me, not moving, not making a sound, and then next thing I know, I'm walking down the hill, like to because my apartment was up on this hill, and I lived a couple blocks from work, so in the dream, I was walking to work, and I would look back, and he would be staying on the edge of the light. I could just barely see him sometimes. It was really creepy. And I get to work, and like there was no customers, so it was like it's okay for me to freak out. And I started panicking, and I told my coworkers, like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Look, the Zodiac Killer on the other side of the restaurant sign." And they were like, "Oh, it's probably just it's probably just a pedestrian, like looking at the sign." I'm like, "No, it's Zodiac." And so like I stayed there until close, and one of my coworkers gave me a ride home. She even like checked the apartment. I was like, "There's no one here." And then in the dream, like I went and laid down, and all of a sudden I heard in the movie and then in the documentary the this is the Zodiac speaking. The dispatcher says that when he called and reported the murders, he ended up by going goodbye. I heard that, and I opened my eyes, and Zodiac Killer was inches from my face, and then I jolted awake, and I was like so freaked out. I asked my coworkers, I'm like, "Did this happen?" And the one that drove me was like, "I wasn't even working that night," and I was like, "Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure." So like it was bothering me for like a week, and so I posted about it on Facebook in 2016, and forgot about it. And then they did that tweet saying, "Hey, if y'all have any stories to share, let us know." And so I went and found the post, and I copied and pasted and sent it to them on Twitter in a DM, and they used it. And it's in their most recent Campfire Stories, released 4 days ago. Campfire Stories number 4 is the last story they read. And I was like, "Yay, they read it." And they thought it was creepy too, I thought was great. There's a part of me that was afraid they were going to make fun of it. Like, no, that was stupid. Why would you be afraid of that? It was clearly a dream. Like they thought it was creepy too, and that was kind of cool. But yeah, go check them out. They're awesome. Their most recent story was The Exorcism of Anna Eklund and Roland Dotor. I listened to that episode. I still can't pronounce that name. But anyway, I'm going to end this episode here. Yeah, the computer's still going. It's been 45 minutes from in this recording, and that noise is still going. Eventually I was just like, forget it. I'm just going to do the episode anyway. The reason I decided to just go ahead and do the episode anyway is I listened to the recordings, and I'm like, you can kind of not even hear it. It's like, it's really loud to me, like here in the room. It's like really loud. And so like I was like, I can't work with this. But then I heard the recordings, and I'm like, you can't even really hear it. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna do the episode. I don't even care anymore. But okay, I'm gonna end this episode here, and then probably watch something or